What happened?
The little ticker. There we go. So this is going to be where we're introing into Tupac, Dear Mama.
Mm-hmm.
Our potential walk-up song. We haven't figured a walk-up song out yet, but it's going to be coming, so suggestions are possible. So this is episode 3 of 2 Steps Back, and I'm searching on this, the Beast, this UFC fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He's got one of the best Instagrammable accounts out there.
Okay.
He's good for comedy. He's good for a little bit of commentary on culture. And this is a video I wanted us to watch to really start off today.
Let's see what you're showing us today right here.
You need to watch this one twice to really get what happens. So this guy got this riding up. He sees these 2 cars. He's putting up his hands as if like, hey, you're going to run into me. Oh my gosh. People seriously need to start taking a little bit more ownership in their own health.
So wait, so you think the bicyclist was the issue there? You don't think the car was the issue?
If you actually go back to this clip, there is a stop sign for the bicyclist. So this guy riding a bike, there's a stop sign right here.
Okay, good point. But it's still a crosswalk.
The stop sign might be for the sidewalk and not the road.
It is.
But this guy on the bike is the only person that even has the ability to change the outcome of this based on what we're watching.
I mean, he put his hands down once he knew he was out.
It's just one of those things I've seen so many times driving in LA where pedestrians prove a point.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll just walk across the sidewalk and they'll be like, look at me, everybody's got to stop, green light. What if cars start proving the point?
What if cars? No, there's a sense of entitlement there. I'm going to throw my hands up because I know you're not going to hit me. Oh, well, you're going to find out. Because you're not even giving them an opportunity to stop, even if they wanted to.
He's going to put himself
literally just full throttle.
Mm-hmm.
What happens.
I mean, I completely disagree with you. This is...
You're full of it.
This is fully
He's only saying
in the
that 'cause
wrong.
we don't know if he survived.
Fully in the wrong is the driver. Because if you have a 2-ton car, right, you don't need to be looking on Instagram. You don't need to be texting. This guy was not looking at the road. Because if he was looking at the road, he would have seen a biker.
Yeah.
I have to disagree.
He should lose his license.
I have to disagree. Look at how quick it happens. In what? A second? If they're looking straight ahead, 2 bikes have already crossed. At the speed that they're going, do you have a moment to look far left from the actual sidewalk? Look at how close they are.
He's carrying some
That
good
doesn't look
speed.
like irresponsible
I
driving.
love the hands up. I love the hands up.
I just cannot believe you guys are blaming the victim right now.
I just love what's going through his head. He's like, fuck you. And then he's like, oh, fuck me.
Exactly.
Boom.
Yeah, it's a sad day in society
It is.
when we see cars running over pedestrians. I blame Instagram.
This
This
is what
is-
we call the opposite of victim blaming. This is going to be victim accountability. Take ownership.
Because
I say that with love.
I
and
mean-
in hopes that he's okay, he or she, but where's the accountability there?
that I see where you're coming from. Because to a certain extent, putting your hands up when you're going through the intersection, like he did. I mean, he's making it really hard to defend him right now.
If we're going into the new world of electric cars or self-driving, not electric, but self-driving cars,
Autopilot.
we are going to start having to think of cars as trains.
Facts.
People think that our roads, cars are going to just have more sensors, so they're going to be able to know when to stop. No, our roads are going to have to change for self-driving cars, which is crosswalks don't exist anymore. These little stencils in the road telling you that you're safe and expecting them to keep you alive, it's going to go away.
It is. And I think, too, truly, all jokes aside, if you are the only person in a situation that can ensure your safety, do that. Don't leave it up to chance. We can educate as much as we want, but if you are on a bike and you are biking towards a street and you see 2 cars, make a responsible decision. Maybe don't run the gamut on that.
Right.
That's just my take.
So I really do think that your perspectives, you and LJ's, is a Midwest mentality versus a West Coast mentality.
Fair enough.
In New York, you know you're going to get ran over, right?
I mean, in New York, bikers are running over cars too. So it's like it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. There's something about California, I think, that I do agree with you guys, where pedestrians, I think, have been given this thought or this idea that cars will always stop for them. Now, the law says the car should stop for you, but it doesn't guarantee that the cars will. And, as Jessica's bringing up, it is your responsibility to make sure that you don't put yourself in harm's way, even if you have the right of way.
Well, that's what sucks is so obviously, because of liability, because there's a crosswalk, most likely this car is going to be responsible for this person's medical bill.
Yeah.
Or the person could have not had a medical bill.
Exactly.
Where's going to the whole point of just stopping close and then kicking the car?
Yeah.
That's the old school way to do it. Now people are just going to start jumping in front of it like this. This is crazy.
You gotta save your life and then use the middle finger after.
Yeah.
You shouldn't use your two legs as the middle finger.
I mean, I don't think he was probably able to do a middle. This just happened. So
yeah,
he's not going to be able to use both of his hands for weeks.
Did he survive though? He's
we
alive
actually don't know
least.
yet.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
wow.
will follow.
We don't really
up
have
and,
the resources at Two Steps Back yet to be able to really
fact check.
check in.
to do investigative reporting.
So if
Now-
you know, let us know in the comments.
If Radler increases our sponsorship dollars that they hand out, maybe we can get into it.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
They have been doing okay for us, but they
Yeah.
could do more.
Yeah.
And we'd appreciate that.
Thanks to the laptop, Radler. It's nice.
So, Kamal, what are you thinking about this week?
I'm thinking about a lot of things. One of the things that we should discuss is the Kaepernick situation. Now, when that workout happened, I was like, "Yo, why did Kaepernick do that? Why didn't he just go to the Atlanta Falcons stadium
Yeah.
and do the workout?" And what I've learned since then is that the NFL wasn't going to even allow the media there to
Yeah.
see the workout. And so they could be like, "Oh yeah, we did it. He wasn't good enough." And so I'm actually more back on the Kaepernick side to say he didn't want the NFL to essentially say, well, he wasn't that good. He wanted all of us to see that he can still throw 70 yards down the field, that he still got an arm. And frankly, there's, some of the quarterbacks are, for example, the Kansas City Chiefs backup quarterback was coaching high school football when he got called up.
Right.
So I don't see it as if oh my God, Kaepernick is washed up. He's not good enough to play. Look at the NFL. There's 4 or 5 quarterbacks that are, you could say, elite or you could rely on. The rest of them is any given Sunday.
So I have initial early perspective too with you where I see that all go down. I go, look, this is Kaepernick just creating the circus that a lot of people would have already expected him to want to create.
Right.
There is a little bit different element when it comes to this liability waiver that came into perspective within, a few hours. His team was able to finally get it out that Kaepernick basically wants to still be able to have legal grounds to kind of sue over if a team doesn't want to be able to accept him on the team based on how that questionnaire would go, how his interviews went.
Yeah.
If they said, hey, we are not going to be able to let you join our team unless you stand up. If you take a knee, you're not going to be able to be on our team.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to be able to have legal grounds against those types of actions that he expected the NFL teams to potentially take. Mm-hmm. The only reason I still don't side with Cap on this is you're not going to beat the NFL on legal grounds. Kaepernick only can beat the NFL on public perception.
Moral ground.
So it's the only way it's going to work. So I understand why he's already in such a headspace that he's not going to accept that liability waiver. And from a lot of intelligent legal minds out there, they say nobody would sign that waiver, or I wouldn't advise anybody to sign that waiver. It matters if he's just going to be a starting quarterback in the league. I get it. If he shows enough talent that he could lead a team to the playoffs, Kaepernick obviously doesn't need to sign the waiver, and he can just play ball. Mm-hmm. If he's going to be a backup quarterback, you kind of got to be the guy that just bites the bullet. Mm-hmm. So it's still a weird thing. I think that he probably messed his opportunity up more to get to the NFL through this.
What I don't understand is, I think the NFL for sure did Kaepernick bogus. And they had a settlement, right? So the league did you bogus. You got your message out there. They settled. You sat down, your lawyers shook hands, agreed that you're like, okay, you guys did me bogus. The NFL says, okay, we can see that. Let's settle. I don't know how much they settled for, but they did settle for millions.
Undisclosed.
It's undisclosed, but we can assume it's millions of dollars, right?
That Kaepernick's team settled with the NFL?
That the NFL settled with Kaepernick.
Right.
So they settled, right? So why would you want to go back to that employer? Why do you want to go back to the NFL?
I think
from, Kaepernick's perspective, that's your, not your enemy, but that's who you're up against.
I think you make a fair point, but I think of the phrase, you got to play the game to change the game.
Right.
And I find it unfair to ask a professional athlete or professional period not to want to play at the highest level simply because the organization or the structure in place is navigating that space in an unjust way. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I can see why would you want to go back to that employer? But if he's at the top of his game, if he's elite, where else does he play? Mm-hmm. And it's almost like an insult to his talent to say, well, why don't you go to a different division, or why don't you go to a different league? Well, the NFL is kind of where it's at when it comes to football. So if he wants to compete amongst the best, it's fair for him to want to do that in an environment that he feels like is fair.
I guess I agree with you for why Kaepernick, from a football perspective, wants to play.
Right.
What I'm getting at is by the NFL settling with Kaepernick, the NFL admitted that in essence they were blackballing him, that they did in part, if not fully, but in part, partially did him bogus. Right. And then you sit down, you sign a contract, you agree to the terms. And after that, it's I think it takes, I don't know what it takes to want to go back and work for, and because as an NFL athlete, it's not just about you. You're making money for the organization. For sure. You're making money for the owners.
For sure.
You're doing all that. So it's why would you want to go back and put your life on the line to make money for this organization that essentially didn't stand with you, what was, at the peak of his career? That's where it's it's hard to be okay, now I'm going to wear a jersey representing the NFL after I settled outside of court with them. It's more of a personal thought. It's not a dig at saying why does Kaepernick want to play football? Because football is fun. You make money. He's talented in football.
Well, but if you're passionate about it, I think of it outside of football, and I can say that myself right now, I work in professional spaces that are unjust and that are unfair, that I have been vocal about, that I am still voluntarily working in. Yeah. And it's because it's a space where I intend to thrive, and it's only fair for me to be in that space.
Right.
So for me, I see it as, do I just isolate myself from the structures that are unfair to me and deny myself my passion? Mm-hmm. Or do I say, okay, in a situation like Kaepernick, I settle, I get my funds, and I continue the fight? I feel like that's fair. If I were a football player, I think I would want to go back.
And I totally understand the racial side of what's going on with this Kaepernick issue. It makes all of this employer-employee thing feel much different.
Sure.
Employees have been having to bite the bullet forever. There's people all over the country, regardless of race or ethnicity, that totally disagree with everything their employer stands for. They disagree with how they treat them unjustly, and they're just like, dude, you're a fucking asshole, but like, you're paying my check.
Yeah.
And like, and a lot of people are doing that with, salaries that are hourly wages that are less than $20 an hour, and they're still willing to do it. I understand why Kaepernick, because he lives and stands for more, is unable to bite that bullet.
Yeah.
But what's confusing to me is after he could have done all of this himself. He could have said, hey, y'all, I'm going live on YouTube, and you're going to be able to, I'm going to do my own private workout.
Yeah.
He's going to say, fuck the NFL. The NFL doesn't even have to schedule something for me. Every single Saturday, I'm going to go live, and teams can see who I am.
Right.
But then, so after this workout, he's like, the NFL's been keeping me out for 3 years. I want to play football. Like, why won't the teams call? And it's like, the teams actually are ready for you to play. Like, I think some of them, but they come with specific standards and expectations that he's unwilling to meet. Yeah. So it's not that the teams don't want to play, but they need him to play with he wants to do it at his own behalf. Like, he wants to do it his own style. And the NFL has already proven that they're not willing to adjust for him.
Yeah.
I think it's unjust, and I think it's disgusting, but the NFL's already shown that. So when on a Friday afternoon where he's like, no one's calling, they're not letting me in, it's like, no, they've showed you the path in, Cap. You're just unwilling to admit why.
Yeah.
Or he should just be like, dude, fuck the NFL. Like, I tried everything, guys. Like, you've seen it. Like, I tried to do it our way, like the way that I think's like actually justified, that like, shows transparency and shows commitment to the causes that I care about. But the NFL doesn't care about that, so I don't care about them. He keeps on saying he wants to play. It's like, you don't really want to play that bad.
Yeah.
I think he does. Maybe I'm just not in it like you, because to be fair, I watch football, but like, I'm more of a college football type of girl.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm not like that in it. So when I look at the Kaepernick situation, I do tend to look at it from more of a racial lens, and specifically of a leadership lens. And so when I talk about the situation, for me, the suggestion that he just walk away sounds a lot like giving up. It sounds a lot like reminiscent of civil rights leaders who walked away. And so for me, it's like, nah, I think you should still fight. This is your platform. This is a space you want to exist in. And if what you're truly asking for is fairness, I would never in my life stop fighting for that. Me personally.
At this point, what is specifically the fight? So, for example, when Colin Kaepernick first started to kneel, I not only agreed with him kneeling, I understood why he was doing it. He explained specifically over and over and over again that it has nothing to do with being against the military. The reason why he was kneeling was out of respect, because a military member told him that is one way to show respect and still protest. Yeah. So there will be some people who will want to hijack the conversation and go, well, he doesn't respect all military members, which is so rich, right? A lot of times when people know that they're wrong, they, instead of actually going after the merit of what you're saying, they're going to criticize how you're doing it, because then it makes it easier for them to be like, la, 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 we're not going to have the conversation.
I understand that. I believe that he does care about, like, the United States. I believe that he respects the flag. I believe that he respects military members. But he knew that kneeling during the national anthem, that was going to cause chaos.
Yeah, so
it was very intended,
right,
to set a fire.
For sure.
That's my follow-up point, is that he started a firestorm. I think the last athlete to start this much of a national firestorm was probably Muhammad Ali. Continuously to this effort. That being said, so he started the firestorm. He got the conversation going. Is continuing doing this in some way helping or adding a new element or a new layer to the conversation that he's never done before? I think that if he went back to the NFL, he didn't kneel anymore, played football, I believe it would never take away from the conversation that he started. I think that the United States needed to have.
I agree.
So, so like no one faults him for doing that. So from my perspective, it's like, if you do really want to play football, then I do. In this situation, you've seen that the NFL is not going to bend. Mm-hmm. It's like, you won. You had the NFL, settle for millions of dollars with you. You got this national topic out. You started a movement. You got a deal with Nike. And then it's like, there's nothing else that is needed from you right now, like where anyone will fault you and be like, oh my God, you sold out. You went back to the NFL.
I think the perfect story ends with him leading a team to the playoffs.
Right.
In this perfect,
I would agree,
like Hollywood moment.
For sure.
If like to totally solidify that him being exiled wasn't value or wasn't real.
Yeah.
Him leading some random team like the Chicago Bears to the playoffs would be an ultimate win for everybody that's ever fought for him. Mm-hmm. And I think that he's letting a little bit of these like nuances that the NFL wants to play legally get in the way of an ultimate like beautiful finish.
Yeah,
to the
so
story.
he's saying he's it's a chess game, not checkers.
If he just like if he like literally bit the bullet and just like walked all the way through, got to a team, played backup, waited for the starting quarterback to get injured for he could throw some footballs around and lead a team, I think that would be the best story. Mm-hmm. And there is some value sometimes in like not walking on a team and the crowd saying, play Kaepernick, play him.
Yeah.
Like
having that
give it a
underdog.
little bit of patience, let the process play out,
Mm-hmm.
and just let your skills override it. Because the NFL has been a proving ground for a long time that if you are valuable to a team, you will play.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's the cool part about sports.
Yeah.
It's like there's usually not this racial bias in sports, and that's why I think it's been able to live outside of a lot of the societal suppression that we've experienced in a lot of other types of employment, because the defining factor of how you play or how you start or lead is just like
performance.
You win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's real. I do agree that if nothing else, I do think that, and I'm not in it, so I try to like allow grace. But I do think that he is probably in a very like heightened mindset.
Yeah.
And I do think when you ask these organizations to make certain concessions and to be willing to, make changes, you have to give them the space to do that. And I could see how Friday would be disappointing from an NFL perspective. Like, okay, we're trying to make right, and at the last minute you pull out. So for me, it is difficult because I see both sides. I see the side of like, wait, no media can be here. That could make me feel unsettled. But I also see the side of, here's a state-of-the-art facility. 25 teams are here to check you out. We're trying to make good on our promises. And even for those who championed for the NFL to give him the opportunity, I could see that being a legitimate and genuine disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if the issue was the media not being there, then that's something that, because if Kaepernick says something, everybody in the media will listen. Whatever he has to say, it will be picked up. So if the issue is that the media is not going to be there, he could have brought that up like, 3, 4, 5 days before and say, hey, I'm going to do this. Thank you.
Well, I think he didn't find out until then. That's why it was last minute.
Well, the NFL did
minute.
spring this on him. They called him on Tuesday, and they gave him 2 hours to agree to something that was going to happen on Saturday afternoon.
Right.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They haven't spoke together for like 2 years.
Yeah.
NFL calls out of the blue in November.
Yeah. So
which
that
is
part
kind of a
is
weird
bizarre.
time.
Yeah.
And they spring this liability waiver on them to hopefully not be able to get sued.
Yeah.
Anytime thereafter
Yeah.
for any type of employment issues that could potentially arise. Like,
and then to get there and then find that media can't be there. That's why I can see why, like, that's frustration. Like, bro, like, nah, like, that's not cool. Like,
yeah, because you already did it you did it on a Saturday when a lot of NFL pundits said if they were really serious, they would have done this on a Tuesday. When a lot of NFL coaches have time off, versus doing it on a Saturday, it's like everyone has a game the next day. Like,
I think they either found something in legal grounds to be able to benefit themselves. The NFL is only doing things for profit.
I would agree.
They are a legal entity that is trying to provide monetary value for themselves at all. They're an entertainment company, but at kind of second to that. And they're like, look, this Kaepernick thing, is obviously entertainment value for us, but we don't want to get like nailed with anything crazy.
Right.
And so they were either looking at this as like
a promotional
it's
value.
boring right now in the season or something. Let's do something, spark some light before the playoffs. Hopefully Cap does great, gets on a team and wins a championship. Or also, this is an easy time of the year for it to fade away.
Yeah.
Where it's like they gave him his chance. Now teams are going to start getting into the playoffs. People are going to forget really, really quick what happens with Cap.
No, I would agree. I would definitely agree.
What do you think about like Stephen A. Smith's thoughts about it? You know, the only thing that I thought that he provided any value is like he seems to be a media. He's obviously a pundit, a media pundit or whatever, and it seemed like he was kind of mad, almost on a personal level at Cap, to be like, "Look, I've been trying to talk to you, but you won't talk to me."
The issue with Stephen A. Smith, or why I think it got personal for him, is that he felt like when he criticized. The thing about Stephen A. Smith is that I think he's very consistent. You know, he sticks to his guns. He sticks to the topics. And what he felt like when he criticized Colin Kaepernick for the move that he did is that there are people obviously within, you know, the comment section, you know, namely black African Americans, that would, you know, say, you know, you a sellout, you a Uncle Tom, for criticizing Kaepernick.
Right.
And that, I think that's obviously highly unfair, especially if you know Stephen A. Smith's background. And there's also it's something that does rub me the wrong way, because a lot of times where it's like, wait, just because like if somebody's anointed, like to be like, oh, you're Colin Kaepernick, so like nothing you can do can be criticized. I see the same thing with also the right, which is all like, you know, the far right, which is, oh, it's Donald Trump, so he can't do no wrong, you know. So there's these people all across society that are like, if this person is fighting for our side, they get a full pass, and it's like, no, you don't get a full pass. Like we could still agree on, you know, the message that you were sending across, but then we can also criticize you for this one specific thing that, you know, we think you went about it the wrong way since you're a public figure. So I think that's why for Stephen A. Smith is that he felt like he was being, you know, wrongfully attacked, which I agree. He has been wrongfully attacked for his opinions.
Well, it's tough because
which are valid.
There's obviously people that don't like Colin Kaepernick based on their racial bias.
Right.
And people feel that now he validates some of those opinions. It gives like an inroad towards people that didn't like Cap. They're like, look, there's a black guy that doesn't like him too. For sure. But I really do think if we're going to be able to get out of this, like the gloves are off types of society where like we're only giving our side a pass at all times.
Right.
It's the first people to finally meet in the middle that are going to like win this battle.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you have to like judge each action. We have to get away from this hypocrisy where a lot of times people are pointing fingers, and I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, clean out your side first, and then start pointing fingers." Because I'm like, you know, so that's where it gets tough. But okay, any fun topics?
You know, I have been seeing some people on Instagram lately, and they've been going to animal shelters.
Okay.
And like talking about how like relieved they are that they've been able to like, you know, benefit society, and they're really leaning in on the topic of like, hey, like I'm feeling so like beautiful and great about like what I was able to do today. Like I've been like washed clean of my sins. Now that like I went to a petting zoo.
Tell us how you really feel. Wait, what do you mean wash clean of your sins? Say more. Kind of unpack this for us.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I've done my Instagrammable volunteering before in my life too.
So you're saying that if somebody goes to a dog shelter, that it's an Instagrammable volunteer service.
Yeah.
Like
We could get into all volunteering. You have to be careful how much you're Instagramming while you're there to show how
so
much you
true.
actually care.
So true.
A lot of people are sitting around volunteering going, we're volunteering today. This is the time. This is my only time I've ever done it. But there's just something that rubs me at one level of like crazier when I see it at a dog park.
Yeah. I see. I can kind of see it both ways. On one hand, like I've seen situations where somebody's walking a dog and then strangers, walking down the street. Let's say you have no dog. Stranger walks by, you walk by, no interaction.
Yeah.
You're walking a dog, a stranger walks by. They don't even look at you. They don't say hi to you. They don't say anything. They're like, "Oh my God, look at that cute dog," and then just like talk to the dog as if you're just like a
non-existent.
Just another thing that's just walking. You're like a leash holder, essentially. You're just a leash holder, but
to this beautiful furry little thing.
Yeah, and I get it. Dogs are cute. Dogs are whatever.
But as a guy, I'm a little bit pissed because dogs are cuter when they're uglier and smaller.
Yeah.
I'm 5'7" and not perfect.
Yeah, but why?
And so if I was a dog, people would be like,
it
"Oh
doesn't
shit,
shake
this
out
is
that
the cutest
way."
person I've ever seen. He's kind of misformed. It doesn't, he's not that cute. Like little ugly. He's perfect. Why can't girls look at guys like that? They have it in their head. They just haven't transitioned it from dog to human.
That's a valid. I see where you're coming from.
It's very valid.
I also think that there's a lot of people that go, "Oh my God, that's a cute dog," because we've been conditioned to act like that to show that we're normal, right? So like, I look at a dog. I agree with you. I'm like, that's an ugly ass dog. Like, why are we saying that this dog is cute? It's not cute. It's drooling. I just saw it poop 2 minutes ago, and you didn't pick up all the droppings.
And it's mean to the dog. If we did that to a really, really ugly person, everybody would be like,
"Oh, it'd be
yo,
awful.
guys, chill out. Like, you're starting to be mean about it."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, it's so cute. Look at it. Oh my God, this is the cutest thing ever." When everyone's like sitting around me like, it's for sure the ugliest person we've ever seen.
For sure.
But you stop going so over the top about your excitement towards its beauty.
Yeah, that's so true.
But I don't know.
There's an inverse relationship right there.
It's scary. And so I think the dogs know it because we've shaved my dog. My sister has these little like toy poodles. And whenever you shave it all the way down, it looks tons uglier. And it doesn't have to look in the mirror to know what your eyes are telling it, which is like, you're just not as cute. It's just,
it can tell by the gaze.
Oh my God. It's so sad about what it looks like. And it's feeling body shamed.
Yeah. Body shame.
Yo.
No, that's fair.
So to get back to your main topic, the volunteer. So I have a friend on Instagram who I see from time to time. She goes to animal shelters and works with pit bulls and whatnot. So it's hard for me to criticize.
We're not going to tag her on this.
No,
almost we can.
But I mean, she's gonna know.
She'll know we're talking about it.
But blow up the comments.
It's your fault. I mean, you introduced her into this.
I mean,
this is not like a specific person that I'm pointing fingers at. I'm pointing fingers at culture in general.
Yeah.
Kamal, on the other hand, here
he's calling out
has
people.
a little bit of an issue with one individual who seems like a great female friend of his.
Wow, I was trying to like,
and then you said pit bulls to like isolate it to like this, this one.
That's true. We need to cut this part.
So missing pit bulls. I don't know this friend of yours.
So, but I get it. I mean, so we're just at a time where literally, like, if every person did 1 to 2 hours a month, right? Like, you can have one person volunteer 40 hours a week, and it's not really going to make that much of a dent because they're just still one person. So I'm going to reserve my judgment on volunteering at dog shelters.
At petting zoos. Not even dog shelters. Petting zoos.
Some of these dogs have been through... I've never had a pet, but I feel like some of these dogs have been through some really hard times.
All I'm saying, like, so let's say reincarnation's real. And I'm obviously a horrible person for bringing up this topic. I come back as an ugly-ass dog. I win. Even if I am beat up on the street for a little bit, I go back to a shelter, get these pretty little like Instagram models, come and pet me.
I mean, sometimes when you're speaking facts, you're speaking facts, you know?
Mm-hmm. But I totally disagree with anybody who abuses animals. I'm disgusted by the way that we are inhumane, or not inhumane to a dog, right?
Yeah, it's inhumane. Yeah.
It is kind of like
Animal.
counter.
I mean, it is inhumane. It's
No, because
yeah, but he's
inhumane
not
would
a
mean
human. But the context is the same.
But
The
when it be,
sentiment,
it'd still
rather,
be
is
an
the same.
inhumane act, right?
But isn't that something? Like, I'm just guessing because like humans in there that like it's because it's something that you shouldn't do to another person. Inhumane.
Are you saying inhumane doesn't extend to animals?
In
Well,
animal
if it's
name.
human.
Inhumane is to do something that is not common for the average civilized person to
It
do.
doesn't have anything to do with humans.
So
not that it doesn't have anything.
inhumane is not about the act that you're. It's not like.
It means
It's about
without-
what a human should do to other things, not whether or not what it is.
Yep, without compassion for misery or suffering.
So you could actually be inhumane to a tree.
Yeah, the example is confining wild horses is inhumane. So the example is actually an animal.
A lot of times, actually, inhumane I thought was used towards
I mean, I
I
don't
didn't
know
realize
much about
that.
the dictionary.
Learn
and all
something
that.
new
I
every day.
mean, I gotta.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, Kamal educates us with that kind of stuff. That's why he's here.
Yep.
When English is not your first language and you have to learn it, they kind of
pick up on
teach
that
you
stuff.
some of the back end stuff, like who wrote the Star Spangled Banner? Francis Scott Key. So that was one of the questions in order to become a citizen.
Yeah, that sucks for me.
The fact that you remembered it, because I learned it.
Well,
Never
so
would've remembered it.
the way it works is if your parent, so my mom at the time was learning English, and she was the person in our family who was going to take the citizenship test. So
you have like one, like volunteer.
no, usually it's the parent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we would come home from school, and we would help my mom study. for the test, and so we would quiz her, and so she was actually quickly
Is it
learning
anybody
English.
over 18 has to take the test?
Yeah.
Or one tribute to the whole family?
I think it's usually a parent does it, and none of us. I was 14 at the time. I was 13, and then I was 13 when she was studying for the test, and so we knew all the facts too because we were studying with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then 14, she took the test, passed, and we became citizens. But
Nice.
so it's just one of those things where, you just learn a lot more things. I remember when I learned the word desert, because not desert, dessert. So when I've never heard of the word dessert till I came to the United States, and I was reading a book, and I was like,
There's not desserts out there.
we just didn't call them dessert.
Oh, okay.
So
What are they called? What's the word in that language?
I mean, we called it biscuits, or we called it candy. Like you have to understand.
Dessert's part of, over here, dessert's a part of the meal. Like you
Right.
get that for sure.
Right. Most of the world doesn't say, I just ate a full meal. Now let me slide through the cracks a little bit of this chocolate German cake. It's like that wasn't just thought about. It was like, all right, get up and get back to work.
Yeah.
So I was reading a book and I just didn't understand the term, and I was like, wait, so like, how do you eat a dessert? And I was like, first of all, this word is misspelled, and it like doesn't make sense. And they're like, oh, a dessert. And I was like, what is a dessert? And they're explaining, like, like ice cream, and I was like, oh, ice cream is called dessert? They're like, no, it's just a form of dessert. And so after a while, I'm like, they came up with a name to describe
stuff that already has a name.
their second or third meal
A good thing
within
you
the
didn't get
same
like
meal.
a super dry dessert like a scone right away to be like, oh, I get it, it's a desert.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's funny.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. It would
Crunchy
screw up
cookie.
your English forever.
Yeah, there's there's a lot of things you kind of learn along the way, and I don't even know. I really don't know why I brought that up, but I don't know how we got into it. But
We were talking about.
thank you for sponsoring again, Radler Grapefruit.
Yes.
Yep.
Get a quick
So somehow petting zoos got into
There we
desserts.
Yeah. So petting, that's another thing that I think is a very Western thing, is the amount of compassion that is shown for animals is at times I feel like feels a lot more
It's kind of cool, but
than
my mom's calling here.
okay. That feels the compassion for animals at times feels like it's even more for the general population. So I definitely see where you are when it comes, where you're coming from with that. But that being said, I would more likely criticize a person that doesn't volunteer at all versus a person that's at least going to the
someone
animal
has to care about the dogs.
Somebody, yeah. And it's the person that's going to definitely Instagram it.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's how that works. I feel like we had some other topics in there that we were thinking about.
I feel like we got some good ones. We don't have a lot, but I feel like
I get that.
The dog one is really good. That was good.
What do you think about Chick-fil-A?
So here is going to be unpopular opinion. So I am side Chick-fil-A and not side Popeyes. I'll say for a few reasons. One, I've never had Popeyes.
It's a good way to start.
And I thought about getting Popeyes actually, like last week, just to kind of see what the craze is all about.
Okay.
It's been like a 2 or 3 month craze right
That's
now.
getting crazy.
I walked in there, and there was the smell in the Popeyes. I was like, it just feels like the air particles were grease.
Oh my God.
I mean, Popeyes are not well-kept establishments.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm sure one of these breaded fried chickens has maybe a rat tail in it. I don't know. That's how I feel. And the issue is with Chick-fil-A, when I walk into a Chick-fil-A, I'm like, this is probably one of the cleanest fast food restaurants I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The service is impeccable.
It's led by Jesus.
The food...
It is.
The food is impeccable.
He's a perfectionist.
And so when you have a place that is clean, great food, great service, when I'm hungry and I'm about to eat, that is one of the times where I'm not always thinking about social issues. At that point, I'm just thinking, I want to go to a place that's going to taste good and not give me E. coli or salmonella. I don't want to be down for 2 weeks. I can't afford to be down for 2 weeks. So if I have to pick, I'm going to spend my money with Chick-fil-A and, not feel like I'm tasting, grease particles in the air while I'm sitting in. Like, I feel like I need to shower after I get out of a Popeyes.
I don't know anyone who actually sits in a Popeyes to eat. I'm just going to say that first and foremost. As a person who eats there and has for years, I don't know anybody who goes in. So that was your first mistake.
You like Popeyes, or is it just something that you do?
I'm sorry.
Is it you
I
like it?
I enjoy it, and it's never super clean.
Wait, have you ever had a Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, I eat
so
it both.
What's your opinion?
I don't have a preference for either because I originally had Popeyes in New Orleans, and so for me it's nostalgic. Like I come from the South. I eat at places that are not the cleanest. I go to House Cooks. I go to you name it, street vendors. It doesn't really too much matter.
Have you had church chicken?
It is funny because like with consumerism, how it's going right now when it comes to food establishments, we love those really dirty, gritty spots. Yeah. If it's like family made.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
and that's the
and
difference
so
when
like,
it's a family.
Like, look at this. This place is a piece of shit. Like, man,
it's a hole in the wall.
This food must be
it's
perfect.
got like that grungy.
But then if it's like a Popeyes,
we're like, oh no.
You're like, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
But it's not half as disgusting as your favorite hole in the wall.
Yeah.
And when somebody says they're a foodie and they don't have one hole in the wall on their list, I'm like, you're not a foodie.
Right.
See, so then you shouldn't have been so dissuaded by the air particles then.
But Popeyes is a franchise.
It's a foodie establishment, bro.
It's not
a hole in the wall.
I mean, it's... I don't know what it is. I don't have a name for it yet.
It's good.
So, have you guys been to York Street?
I have
Here?
Is it downtown here?
No, it's not downtown. It's... let me look it up. But York Street has... It's if you go there on like a Thursday or Friday night, they have unbelievable food, and they have this like backyard area where it's just like a family making, and it's like, I think they call it like this Tennessee hot chicken is the name.
Oh yeah, I mean I haven't had from there, but I've had Tennessee hot chicken before.
Yeah, and that whole street is nothing but food vendors, and the bars are like more hole in the walls. Like it kind it doesn't feel like you're in LA anymore.
Oh, really?
York Street, you said?
York Street, but it would be if you went there for a weekend or if you went there for a few hours on a Thursday night, Friday night, or a Saturday, you would have a great time. Like you and a few people, or you on a date. Like it's just like somewhere you can just like hop around.
What ethnicity like holds it down?
Mostly hipster white people.
Oh, okay.
and like Hispanics.
Okay.
Yeah.
The hipster white people are cooking?
No, the hipster white
They're
people.
just experiencing it.
No, they're giving you really good IPAs and really good cocktails.
Oh, okay.
So what kind of food, like culture is it? Like is it just offline,
so
Latin?
it's mostly soul and Hispanic food.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting like pizzas by the slice. It just feels like, I don't know, like a mixture of Brooklyn and San Francisco a little bit.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. So check it out. You know, like it seems interesting, but you go down there, no lines. It's a good time. It's a nice little Saturday afternoon. There's a brewery right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like one long street. I kind of felt like how people feel like when they come to the Arts District and they go,
Whoa.
There's so much stuff.
This is different.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like that, but a little bit more. Yeah, we should definitely check it out.
Well, next week I'll have to bring you guys chicken sandwiches
Oh, yeah.
so you all can try them.
I'm gonna have
so
to,
you don't have to subject yourself to the air particles. Because,
Yeah, but
you need to be in such a sterile environment.
No,
I'm
I
saying
just-
this because Kamal and I have been to holes in the walls where the air particles were not the cleanliness.
And he likes them there.
And he likes
goes,
it there.
dude, you can
yeah,
smell
it's
it.
different. See
smells
now,
horrible.
like if I was in Louisiana, I would definitely go to a Popeyes.
Yeah. Okay.
I just don't trust these California spots
That's
unless
fair. I can't be mad at that.
like you seriously. There is the one by University of like USC,
That's where I try to go today. They
There's a
just don't.
Chick-fil-A over
They
there,
don't
too.
accept American Express.
American Express. You gotta get on that.
Yeah.
It's pretty
High
fun.
percentage fees. It's a problem, but you can sponsor us. No problem.
We could do that.
Shoot us a DM.
Jessica, are you thinking about anything today?
No, I talked about the Kaepernick stuff pretty extensively yesterday, so I'm glad we touched on that.
Good.
I mean, there's a lot of politics on the horizon, but I'm sure we'll get into that. as
Yeah, we don't need
things
to get
heat up.
long-winded about it. I
Yeah.
think people already know what's going on. It's kind of a place right now. It's hurry up and wait
Yep.
a little bit.
Yep.
And so we don't always have to live in the hurry up spot until we start to reach a few more conclusions. It's so undecided yet.
I would agree. And the playing field still, to me anyway, seems so crowded that it's kind of like, we're just wading our way through.
All right. Well, that sounds good. It's a good day.
Yeah.
Easy.
We covered the topics.
Over and out.
2 steps back.
Peace.